Hello everyone, good morning. It's 9:45 here in London. I'm TK and this is Coach on the Rocks. Thank you for tuning in and welcome. Let me know, give me a wave, let me know where you are from and where you're tuning in and on this wonderful day or evening, depending on where you are. So, yesterday we had an interesting webinar on a Humble Associates profile about developing young talent and young leaders, Gen Z especially. And you can go to Humble Associates on LinkedIn here and check it out. Wonderful conversation with our lovely guest Carmen that we've been working with for a while. And yeah, I think it's quite an interesting conversation. I've also read an interesting article by HiBob about the needs of Gen Z. And one of the top needs for Gen Z employees was to have the company that's aligned with their personal values. Well, I guess it's important for us too. I don't guess it's important, especially younger people are even more attuned to that. So it was very interesting that on the webinar itself, we had a person asking a very challenging question. Now, they've asked the question in a aggressive manner with an ad hominem attack and a thinly veiled agenda. So we decided not to relay the question to our guest. Having said that, a similar question could have been asked in a more reasonable manner. And, the question challenged the company that our guest was working or is working in and, spoke highly of and challenged what they're doing. And I think, in a hypothetical situation, when that happens, there's an interesting choice that needs to be made, right? Carmen works in HR. It's her bread and butter to do recruitment, to work on retention, to work on internal communication, to do employee branding. And sometimes, if you work in a bigger company, there are people that will be dissatisfied with what you do, even if you just produce ketchup, to be honest. But, I'm not going into the matter of the question that was asked. But the thing is, how do you answer the tough question? How do you react in this situation? Especially when you want to attract young talent and you want to show your company values, which, is all about doing the right thing for Kraft Heinz. On one hand, you can, be smart and steer away from the question and make sure that, you're all dressed in white and try to give a political answer. But I don't think in 24 it cuts it anymore. People will know that it's, a bunch of PR and you're not being authentic in what you say. I personally think that it's a difficult spot to be in, right? So some people might say that, by us not airing this question, we're also not on the value of transparency. And I would reply to that, the way the question was asked wasn't great. But on the other hand, if I was asked, but would you ask the question if it was delivered in a more reasonable way without violating the rules of the space? And I would say I would, right? But then again, I would do it in a way that would be also provocative, in a way to explore it like this. I personally believe that if someone for the organization I'm leading would say that, we're not upholding values, I would say, if this would be the time and space, discuss that, I would say, if the person's wrong, I would say, well, they're wrong. If I don't have the information, I would say, I don't have the information to respond. And I think, it's not only talking about values, it's actually showing the values to themselves, right? So if a company has a value of being not transparent, but more in terms of authentic and close to the community, I think, you shouldn't be afraid of talking about that. Yes, there's PR, and if you're a multinational corporation working in many regions, it's a difficult situation. But I think most importantly, it's all about showing up and presenting the values. Even though you working in a certain geography might find that another part of your company is doing things that people may find controversial, you can only be responsible for yourself. You can only be responsible for how you show up. And the way you show up in this situation, I think will be something that people will be looking at. Even though you might know very little, even though you might have very little influence, the way you choose to behave when a tough question is asked is, I think, something that people will look at. So, before we instinctively try to push back or dodge the question, let's think about the way we will answer and the actual impact it will have on the situation. Sometimes it's obviously done in the heat of the moment. Many times there is anger being projected by the person asking the question. Clearly, in this case, the anger was clearly seen, even through the question itself, all caps and so on. But I think, even though we might feel the anger ourselves, it will not serve us well, and it might not help us to show up in a way that will be productive. Can't give you the exact answer of how or of what to answer. But what I can tell you is people will definitely look at how you handle this situation. With that, I wish you all the best for the rest of. Is it Thursday already? No, it's just Wednesday. Yay. Sorry. But I'll definitely see you tomorrow on Thursday. Have a nice one. Bye bye.